everybody thinks the US dollar is still as good as gold, and it hasn't been since 1971. This is the world monetary systems. From 1873, when Germany went on the classical gold standard, where each unit of currency is backed up by an equivalent amount of gold in the treasury. In the United States, $20 bill, $20 gold piece in the vaults. Go into any bank, slap down your currency, which was a receipt for money, a claim check on money, ask for your money, gold and silver, and they would give it to you. So this shows, this is currency, this is money. Otherwise, there was no reason for any government to store gold in their vaults and then print this currency that was backed by gold. This is what gives confidence in that, and it gives governments the ability to start this scam in the first place, where they print these receipts for gold, and then they can print more of them than gold that exists. And that happened when we got to World War I, and all the combatants stopped redemption rights. You could no longer go in the bank and trade your pounds, lira, marks, francs, no longer redeemable in gold, and they lit up the printing presses and started printing like crazy. Then between the wars, they went on something called the gold exchange standard, where currencies would be backed partially by gold. So in the United States, under the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, the Federal Reserve was allowed to put $50 worth of claim checks on gold, currency in circulation, backed up by only $20 worth of gold. So it was a 40% reserve ratio. For every $20 gold piece in the vault, they could put $50 in circulation.
We're the dollars of the nation on parade. We're the biggest batch of dollars ever made. Oh, we used to march by millions, but now we march by billions, and maybe we'll be trillions for your dead. We're the dollars.
Then we get to 1944. Now, during both wars, Europe paid the U.S. with gold. During World War I, the U.S. didn't get into the war until the very end of it. We didn't really have troops on the ground here in any quantity until the last 6 months of the war. So for the first 4 years or so, we're selling you all of, you take all of your young men off of the farms and turn them into soldiers. You take your factories that make toasters and they start making machine guns. Your factories that made cars are now building tanks. And so you turn your economy toward war, and all of your consumer goods and your grains had to be imported from the United States, and you paid us with gold. Then in World War II, Hitler starts saber rattling in 1936, annexes Austria in 38, invades Poland in 39. Pearl Harbor wasn't until the end of 1941. We didn't have troops on the ground until, I believe, August of 42. So again, there's like 6 years where you're paying us with your gold and we're selling you stuff. This is where Americans have this myth that war is good for the economy. War is good for the economy if you're not in it and you're selling them the tools of the trade.
Yes, America's national income gets bigger and bigger. In 1943, it was $142 billion. That was double the 1939 figure, triple the figure for 1933.
But by the end of World War II, the U.S. had 2/3 of all the world's monetary gold, the central bank gold, and the rest of the world had to share the other third, and Europe had none. So the world monetary system was no longer going to work. It would collapse. But we had made all these loans of dollars to Europe, so Europe was flooded with dollars. And so representatives from around the world met at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire in 1944. They came up with a new world monetary system called the Bretton Woods system, where every currency on the planet, with the exception of just a few, they would be backed by the US dollar, and the US dollar would then be backed by gold at $35 per ounce. This gave confidence to all currencies. So this gave the world stability, and it pegged all the world's currencies to each other through the dollar to gold. So there was no such thing as the Forex. Currencies didn't float. The exchange rates were fixed year after year, and this helped to make world trade boom. Then the dollar standard starts because we kept on printing dollars. Under the Bretton Woods system, there was no reserve ratio established where the US actually had to have a certain amount of gold for how many dollars we created. So we had done a bunch of deficit spending for Korea, for Vietnam, for Johnson's Great Society, and expanded the currency supply, the amount of paper dollars in circulation, and exported them all over the world. And then in the 60s, Charles de Gaulle, president of France, realizes that we don't have the gold to back up the dollars.
Le fait que beaucoup d'États acceptent par principe des dollars au même titre que de l'or entraîne les Américains à s'endetter et à s'endetter gratuitement vis-à-vis de l'étranger, car ce qu'ils lui doivent, ils le lui payent avec des dollars qu'il ne tient qu'à eux d'émettre. Nous estimons nécessaire que les échanges internationaux soient établis comme c'était le cas avant les grands malheurs du monde, sur une base monétaire indiscutable et qui ne porte la marque d'aucun pays en particulier. Quelle base? En vérité, on ne voit pas qu'il puisse y avoir réellement de critères, d'étalons autres que l'or.
And he starts asking, France asks for their gold and trades in the dollars. And at that point, other countries saw this and start jumping on board. And the US lost 50% of its gold from 1959 to 1971, but we still had in 71 about 12 times more dollars that we had created than there was gold. And this run on the bank, basically, the US now being the bank, this is a giant worldwide bank run, because the US for the second time had committed a fraud and created more receipts for gold than there was gold. It's that simple. And then finally the markets sort of sensed this, and Nixon was forced to take us off the gold standard, because if he had paid out gold until it got to zero, once we couldn't pay on some of those dollars, the entire worldwide monetary system would have collapsed.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. In full cooperation with the International Monetary Fund and those who trade with us, we will press for the necessary reforms to set up an urgently needed new international monetary system.
And on August 15th, 1971, all the world's currencies became fiat currency. I don't know why the rest of the world didn't rush out and hang him, but they didn't. They just all went along with this.
To our friends abroad, I give this assurance. The United States has always been and will continue to be a forward-looking and trustworthy trading partner.
There have been thousands upon thousands upon thousands of fiat currencies throughout history, and there isn't one that survived. It is a 100% failure rate. And we started this experiment where all the world's currencies would be fiat currencies simultaneously in 1971. But what we have here, 30 to 40 years, different monetary system, 30 years, 28 years, 39 years plus, what's next? The world is going to have a new monetary system in this decade that we're in. We're going to experience this huge deflationary crash around the world. The world will probably end up on some sort of new monetary system, probably after governments try and print their way out of this and cause hyperinflations of all the currencies, and people will just lose confidence in currency. And what do they always go back to throughout history? Time after time, for the last 5,000 years actually, they always go back to gold and silver.
In a world of floating currencies, and that's what all national currencies are today, they bob up and down relative to each other, but they're all sinking relative to gold. That includes the dollar as well as the euro and the British pound and all the others. They're going to continue to lose value, continue to lose purchasing power.
Personally, I don't think there's any way of avoiding what is coming. There's no way to fix it right now. There's only a way to either let it wipe you out or to benefit from it.
nation. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Stay the at home. The Rona is spreading. This is no joke. It's no time to work or roam. The way you can fight it is simple, my friends. Just stay the at home. Now, technically, I'm not a doctor, but mother listen when I read a poem. So here I am, Sam Jackson, imploring you, keep your ass at home. If you want things to get back to normal, don't panic. Just use your dome. Wash your hands, stop touching your face, and stay the at home. Motherfucker, it's no time to gamble. Look around, you're not at a casino. Just stay the home as if your name was Trenton Quarantino. Sure, you can still see your friends. Use the mother app on your phone. But unless you just ran out of groceries, please stay the at home. Thank you for doing your part to flatten the curve, because that is steep. And now that you're home, please feel free to go the to sleep. The end.
Than Rudy Ray Moore.
Listen, man, I love this. I love that clip. Welcome everybody to the Eric Dawson Radio Show. Please hit the share button, and stay at home. Don't touch your face. Wash your hands. Stay at home. Listen to Sam Jackson. Well, listen. Today we got a. Hopefully we have a as informative show as we did yesterday. Yesterday's show was fantastic.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, Deidre, her debut was extraordinary. It was powerful. It was informative. And I got to tell you, I was a little disappointed that we did not have the level of engagement that I would have anticipated given the degree of underemployment and unemployment in our community. So we have a professional who owns her own business, a staffing firm, who is in contact with hundreds of companies needing to hire people. We had her on, and we also had a young lady, Diana, on, who owns her own business where she revamps and or from scratch helps you with your resume. So all of the tools necessary, right, to get you on-ramped into a job, and to not have the phones ringing off the hook with people asking Deidre or Diana questions was a little disturbing to me. My hope is that over time, because she'll be on every Tuesday, you guys will come out of your shell and you'll participate in conversations, because you can't tell me that either you or family members or friends of yours aren't in need of employment. And so for her to say, I have jobs now, and literally for folks not to call up and try to figure it out and be in the thread trying to figure it out, it left me scratching my head after the show. But it was powerful. Please go back and listen to it. Today we have Brother Andre Little, or Amir, as a lot of you know him, on, and we're going to be talking about more financial literacy stuff. We'll be talking about how to find financial relief in the age of COVID-19 and beyond. So I want to welcome Brother Andre Amir to the show, and Vincent Squire as well. Welcome, guys.
Good morning. Good morning, family. Good morning, Vincent. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
Good morning, Andre.
So at the beginning of the show, I played a clip that you sent me, Andre, and for the people who watched it, just give some background as to why you asked me to play that. And then for the people who didn't see it, maybe you can rewind the show and go back and watch it so you can catch up with the conversation.
Okay. Good morning, family. This is your brother, your friend, your king, Amir, coming to you live from Newark, New Jersey, known as Andre is my first name. The reason why I chose that video first is most of us, 99% of the world, not just America, not just black people, but the world have been lied to or misled to believe that paper money is, or paper currency is money. Money has very distinct characteristics, and our paper currency, known as fiat currency, does not carry all of those characteristics anymore after 71. So I wanted to bring on someone who's extremely knowledgeable. He's a global economist and has been studying the world monetary system for over 27, 30 years. This is one of my mentors who has taught me the one basic fact that 24 karat gold is money. Everything else is credit or currency. So in order for us for me to communicate that message and drive it home, he gave 140 years of history in 10 minutes to basically support the fact that 24 karat gold is money and is not an investment.
Okay, what is his name again?
His name is Mike Maloney. Mike Maloney. He has a series that I want everybody who's serious about financially surviving this this COVID-19 situation and this financial crisis. It's called The Hidden Secrets of Money, right? And that's where I got this from. I've been studying this man for the last 5 years, and this is where I got the information.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we were taught the truth and were saving gold as we were taught to save paper, most of us who would have done that would not have lost anything during any crisis, because gold is the safe haven asset for the last 5,000 years, as you saw in the video.
Okay. So
go ahead, Eric.
No. So I'm just trying to get to so we understand gold to be a precious metal, right? You and I had a conversation yesterday, and one of the things that you've talked about, not only on your platform but when you've been here on this show, is how people should be investing. And the conversation that you and I had yesterday was around what's going on now in the market as relates to oil. And I was saying that several friends of mine are making investments in that industry right now because it is going to, I believe, once the global economy begins to recover, is going to yield the highest return on investment short term, right? And we had a discussion about that and gold. And I'm just trying to paint a picture. You've asked for a platform on Wednesdays to be able to talk about this. So I just want to try to guide the conversation, or at least understand where where you want people to go. Like, this is your platform. This is your moment to talk about these things.
Right. So to deal with what's going on with the oil, I put up a post a few days ago. I think it was yesterday, that we're experiencing something that has never happened before in our lifetime. Mm-hmm. Okay, with the price of oil going negative $37, right? I think it went as low as negative 40. So what I want people to understand is this: the biggest, and this is where, if you get the foundation of what I'm trying to teach you, or actually the facts that gold is money, what industry do you think on earth is bigger than money? Nothing. Because we sell a service or a product for money. Nothing that we can put anything into will be more profitable than money itself. With that understanding, we've had crashes thousands of times, right? Let's just deal with the last 4 or 5 crashes. The only thing that has sustained its purchasing power and value prior to a crash, in a crash, and a post-crash was physical 24-karat gold. This is not just in 2020. This is in 2008. This is in 2000. This is in 1979 or 89, and on and on and on. 1932, 1929. All of those crashes, the safe haven asset of money, they made it an asset. We know it as money. People in carat bars and people who understand gold as money. There is nothing that you can invest in is greater return than money itself. So with that understanding, we're in the middle of a currency exchange. This is what the United States is not talking about. This is what you're not hearing on the news, that we're in the middle of the decline of the U.S. dollar itself. So if I have the opportunity to teach people what they should be doing, I would tell you, diversify your investments. Absolutely. Eric, you were correct on that. And I said that. Oil will come back, most definitely. But the dollar will not. It will not come back the same way, because the reason behind the oil prices, one of the reasons, is because the rest of the world has categorically denied the acceptance of dollars for oil. They're pushing back on what's known as the petrodollar. In case people don't know, in 1971, the U.S. was off the gold standard. So technically our money was not backed by anything, becoming a fiat currency. In 1974, the United States entered into agreement to back the world's oil with the dollar, making the dollar the currency for oil in the world. Well, we all know the history of that, starting with Gaddafi. He was the first one to push back. He told the world that it's always been our monetary policy internationally to exchange goods for gold, not paper currency. So from that point to today, Venezuela has rejected dollars for oil. Iran has rejected dollars for oil. Russia has rejected dollars for oil. And every other oil-producing country has rejected U.S. dollars for oil. The only country in the world who is currently still accepting dollars for oil is Saudi Arabia, which we went to that agreement in 1974. So I want us to understand what we should be doing through this platform is exchanging our dollars for gold in the amounts that we can afford to do so. Because gold is money, not an investment. Most investments indicate risk. There's no risk in owning 24-karat pure gold.
Okay. Vincent, do you want to weigh in?
Say it again?
No, I asked Vincent if he wanted to weigh in.
No, I just want to take it all in to make sure that I have all his information correct. Go ahead.
So what I want to say first is, part of the reason the fall in prices of oil, and I'm just reading this from some information that I pulled up. It was triggered by, it said, the expiry of May future contracts for U.S. West Texas intermediate crude, which would have left traders stuck with barrels of physical oil in a market where few were willing to buy. And so it was just basic supply and demand, that the world economy is slowed down, so the need or use of oil, right, was less than the amount that was being produced or is being produced. And so where oil is now being stored, those folks have no room to store oil anymore. And so it is at a halt. Is that not right?
That's part of the reason, yes. That's part of the reason.
Well, what is the other part of the reason?
Okay, so I sent you an article, right? I don't know if you read it or actually went into it. I sent you two articles. One was stating that China, Russia, and a few other countries, as far back as 2014, were talking about, and the rest of the world for that matter, were talking about not accepting dollars anymore. All right, so one was dated 2014. I think I sent one for 2016. And the most recent one was this year. All right, so the oil-producing countries have been saying that they were going to do this for some time. Well, history was changed from a threat to an actual law being passed that I think it was 8 or 9 of the of large countries in the world categorically agreed not to use the dollar anymore in their trades. They're going to use other currencies in their native countries from their central banks. So with that understanding, that means that they're not trading in U.S. dollars anymore as of March 18th. Did you read that article, Eric?
I did read it.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is this: with what we're looking at right now, every economist, every person is talking about this being a direct result of the coronavirus pandemic, and you're saying that it's not.
What I'm telling you is this: that this crash was going to happen regardless of the coronavirus. And the fact that I've been telling people, because I'm a follower of Mike Maloney, I'm a follower of Jim Ricketts, I'm a follower of Robert Kiyosaki, and our CEO, Harold Sykes. They have been saying for years, okay, since 2008, 2009, 2011, that this next crash was going to be greater. And for 3 years on Facebook, every day, I've been telling people that this crash was coming. It had absolutely nothing to do with COVID-19. Nothing. Because if it did, I would not have been able to accurately predict what was happening in the market based on what I was seeing internationally. Everything that I was able to report every day was based on what was going outside of the U.S. So, you ever heard of the saying, Vincent or Eric, if America sneeze, the rest of the world catch a cold? Have you ever heard that before?
Sure.
Okay, so what that meant was if you watch that video, 140 years and 10 minutes, it's telling you that everything that the U.S. does with its monetary policies affects the rest of the world first before it comes back to harm us. And because they were using the U.S. dollar as a weapon against the rest of the world, even our allies don't want to use the U.S. dollar anymore. And because of that, we went into this crash. So it's not because of COVID-19. COVID-19 is the excuse that they're using to cover up the financial crisis that was already heading this way. And you and I can both agree, I'm not no Nostradamus, but if I was able to predict this, and all of the business partners and Caribars and a lot of people in the cryptocurrency community who follow the international global industry or global markets, we saw this coming. It had nothing to do with COVID-19. COVID-19 is what was used to cover up the financial crisis. And even right now...
So you're saying all those people dying is a cover-up for the financial crisis?
No. Listen to what I'm saying. I didn't say that. I'm going to say it again so nobody can misquote me.
Okay,
They're using the epidemic of COVID-19 to cover up the financial crisis. In other words, how much have you heard about the financial crisis coming up into before the COVID-19? How much of you saw the Dow Jones drop? You saw all of this drop before COVID-19. Is that not true?
No, the Dow was on a rise before COVID-19.
Okay, so you're telling me
the NASDAQ was on a rise. The British was on a rise. Everything was on a rise before the COVID-19. So explain this to me again.
Okay, so Vincent, I'm going to let you understand something, right? In 2019, there were very strong indicators in the marketplace. Are you familiar with the bond yield curve for bonds? Are you familiar with that?
Brother, I'm in finance. I follow it.
So
go ahead.
What I'm trying to get to is this. I'm trying to just understand this. You're making you're suggesting that the market was in a weakened position in February or January. I'm sorry?
You go ahead, finish, because I don't want to misquote you. Go ahead, Eric, I'm sorry.
You're suggesting that the market was in a weak position in, December, January, early February?
Well, no, actually, and what I'm going to tell you is this. The recession started in September of 2019. That's when I was able to determine that the recession officially started in September of 2019 when the repo market started bailing out the banks. And this is what I want you to understand. Most of us are very well educated in certain industries, right? We're educated in a lot of different things. Our community are the weakest in the financial industry, right? And only because our CEO in our company and a lot of millionaires and billionaires in our company have taught us how to see these things prior to it happening. I was able to see in September 2019 the repo market start bailing out the banks at $45 billion every single 24 hours. That's how I knew the recession had started. 6 months from that date, I knew, based on what I was taught, that the financial crisis would come. And almost like clockwork, from 45 billion, it went to 75 billion, then it went to 100 billion. I was posting this every single day, that the market was about to crash. Based on that right there, it had nothing to do with COVID-19. Nothing.
Okay, so how do you link it to COVID-19 being a cover-up for the crash?
Because have you heard anything about the repo market in the last 6 months on the news?
Okay, first, let's get a clear... No. I will, but first, let's get a clear definition of the repo market. What is that real quickly, in 2 minutes?
Well, you said you were in the finance. Explain that for the listeners for us.
No, do not answer my question with a question. Just answer my question.
Okay, so let me explain to you what the repo market is, Vincent.
Okay.
The repo market is short for repurchase agreements. That is what happens between banks. When banks loan each other money, when the economy is good, they do it at 1%, 2%. Well, what happened in September, it had went almost to 10% between loans between banks. And because banks don't trust each other, or because they are each other's competition, they were charging astronomical interest rates. So what the banking industry had to do was to go to the Federal Reserve in New York and tell them, listen, we're in trouble. We do not have any liquidity, any money in our bank to open up for the next day. So what they do is they loan, the feds loan money to the banks so they can open up the next day with money. So once that reached $45 billion a day, it quickly escalated to $100 billion a day. So if you understand how important the having liquidity in the banks is to operations every day, you know that there is a financial crisis that's looming. But they did not have any news on TV. There were no announcements, and you can go back and research this. There were no announcements on the news, right? No presidents or governors was talking about the repo market, but I was posting about it every day. That's what the repo market is. So that was an indication that the banks the money was drying up. That was the direct indication that a financial crisis was coming. The other side of it was the yield, the bond yield. Bonds are how the U.S. government basically secures the U.S. debt by selling bonds with a yield, which is the return. When the bond yield market start inverting, which means it
you mean the federal bond yield,
right?
Not the bond yield.
No, well, only the Treasury can issue bonds, right?
You mean, so that's federal Treasury bills or bonds?
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
When those bonds returns start dropping, when the 3 and 5 and 10-year bonds were yielding higher returns than the 30-year bonds, means that the investors the investors or the marketplace doesn't trust the U.S. finances. They don't trust it long enough to put in the 30-year bond, so they start going lower and lower and lower. That's how I knew the market crash was coming as well. Along with the third indicator, which is the rise in gold. The sharp price in gold rise. All of those three things collectively, I was able to determine that the crash was 6 months away, 7 months away. And I learned these things from my mentors in Caribars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's all history. All that's history. It had nothing to do with COVID-19. Now, the first case of COVID-19 was after the market crashed.
No.
That's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true.
But go ahead, because we don't want to prolong you. But because
what I'm saying to you is this: the first case didn't shut the economy, the world economy down. That's what I'm saying to you. We knew the market was crashing before the first case was even pronounced in China. And I gave you the date. It was September. Here's another thing for you. Listen, you got your computer in front of you?
Of course.
Okay, so I want you to do me this favor. All right, Google, listen to me. Google our president, right, number 45. He said on Twitter in September 11th, that our Federal Reserve chairman need to get our interest rates to zero or negative because we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That was in September 29. Why would he make that statement?
You want me to answer that? Because that's going to take a second.
Google it. No, I want you
No. I don't have to Google it. I know it.
Okay.
I saw it. Now, you want me to answer that?
Yes.
No. Forget it. I'll answer that at a later time because that's going to take 10 minutes.
I want you to answer it. You asked to answer it.
Okay.
Answer it.
Okay, now, first let's clear up one thing. In terms of answering it, what they were looking at was now boosting or setting another record in the economy. So the president said, well, everybody knows the biggest way of boosting the economy is giving more money to banks, giving more dispensable income. So the repo, not repossess, but repurchase market, is which a lot of larger banks make money. They take notes based on your property and interest rates that they're getting off of that, and they sell those notes for liquidity. Now, since a lot of people during the last market boom and refi boom, companies are heavy in notes. In fact, it's estimated to 1.7 trillion in notes. What Trump wanted to do was to push the record past Obama's, and the way that he thought could do it was to basically tell the Federal Reserve to drop the interest rates so that banks can borrow, so his big business partners can borrow more money and therefore extend or heighten the market. So with the federal chair, who is autonomous and does not have to answer to Trump, denied the request.
And why would he make this statement in that tweet that we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? What does that statement mean?
What that statement is that him and his friends, the billionaires and trillionaires, not just the size of their company, but the size of their personal income, billionaires, had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity before this president gets elected out of office to make more money. That was the opportunity.
No, that's not what he meant, Vincent.
Well, that's what three of the economists said. But we'll get on. But no. You wanted me to answer the question. I answered the question. So let's go to your next point.
Okay. So what I'm saying is simple as this. Let me get back to something that's going to help somebody on this feed today that watched this today or tomorrow or next week. Okay. Let me get to that because that's what's important. Debating you is not important right now because it's not going to help anybody. That the stocks and bonds was at its highest, that the economy was strongest, there's nothing to worry about out of one side of his mouth, okay? Out of the other side of his mouth on September 11th, he made the statement that we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get the economy back on its feet before something, basically once-in-a-lifetime means that before this big crash, all right? So everybody who understands, if the U.S. has never went into negative interest rates in our history, why would he suggest that? Because he knew the rest of the world was already at negative interest rates. He knew that if we didn't revigorate the economy now by dropping the interest rates to zero or negative now, we are inevitably going to go into a crash that's historic. The economists knew that. That's why he tweeted it when he found out in the same month of September when they started the repo market. That's not a coincidence. He knew, the economists knew when that repurchase agreement started, when the bank started that operation, that they were in 6 to 7 months the crash would come. So that's what that tweet was about. Had nothing to do with us billionaires. It was about the United States people, because if we don't spend money, the economy...
That's more of a difference of personal opinion than actual fact.
Well, yes, it is. If the U.S. stops spending money, what happens to our economy?
Well, let's see. The U.S. isn't spending money now, and we're fine. I think that a lot of people have a...
We're fine?
Oh, okay, but that's another sidetrack. But go ahead. That's another sidetrack, but we'll talk about that later. So on to something that's going to help people with their investments.
Okay, so this is what I suggest, and this is what I've been suggesting. All right, I've been teaching people that that gold and crypto are not technically investments. They are money because of the principles that they carry, right? The two principles that crypto and physical gold carry that differentiates it from fiat currency is it's a safe store of value, and it's in short supply. The U.S. dollar is not in short supply. Neither is the yen, the euro, the rand, the pound. All of those are printed freely by the federal banks of those, the federal banks from those countries. So what we should be doing now, people, is taking whatever you can afford from your earned income or from your savings and putting it in physical 24-karat gold, because that is the currency that we will revert back to when all of the things that the federal government is doing don't work, when all of the things the Federal Reserve is doing don't work, when all of the central banks are trying to bail out the economy's fail, there will be a currency reset. And every single time that a civilization that has taken physical gold and silver out of their monetary system, it has collapsed. Thousands of times. We watched Mike Maloney so eloquently recite that historical fact. Thing that every other civilization before it did. They took the silver out of the coin, they took gold from behind the dollar, and copper out the penny. Once they did that, our currency became fiat. And every single fiat currency in history has all gone to zero with a 100% failure rate.
Okay.
So that's history.
All right.
We can't, there's no debating that.
We got a call. Caller, go.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. I've been listening to you guys this morning, and I want to say thank you, Eric, for this episode of the show. But both of you guys are right in a certain aspect. You know, Amir, I think you're right. People do need to be saving gold, but when you refer to gold as a currency, gold is not a currency. Right? People use it as an investment, but they use it as a saving. It's not a currency until people start using it in mass to exchange for goods. So it's not a currency. Okay? Fiat currency, money, a dollar bill, that's how you pay your mortgage. A dollar bill is how you pay your PSE&G. Those are currency. That's how they operate. So to say it as a currency, it's not. You know, gold is an investment, and will it ever get back to being a currency? I don't know. You know, I don't have that forethought. I wouldn't mind it. It doesn't matter to me which way it happens. Right? You know, I don't mind. But we have to be very clear with the word. Right now, the governments do not use gold as currency. Nobody says, okay, I got $1 million project over here. Come give me a quarter ton of gold. Right? Okay, so Muammar Gaddafi tried that, and they killed him. Muammar Gaddafi tried it, and they killed him. That's because what did he try? Right, being real forefront about it. Right, the man that attempted to do it, he was killed. He posed and killed for it. Like Chavez, who did it in Venezuela, is dead. These are facts. I ain't giving you no. Now we can get into conspiracy theories, whatever. But the two main men have said no longer do I take the dollar bill for my good. Like, hey, that is a fact. So right now the world is trading on fiat currency, not on gold.
That is absolutely correct.
The question is this. Where did you get your facts that gold is not a currency?
That's what I'm getting. I'm telling you.
Wait. Amir. Again, wait 1 second. 1 second.
I'm getting. This is what I want to do. I want to take $250 worth of gold, and I want to pay my light bill. And you know what's going to happen when I walk into PSE&G's headquarters? They say, here goes a half ounce of gold, quarter ounce of gold. I want to pay this on my. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say, nigga, please.
Okay. Now, and Farrakhan, hold on. You asked the question, where did you get your facts that gold is not a currency? Well, let's go dating back to 1933 by President Franklin Delaware Roosevelt, who forbid the hoarding of gold coins, gold bullions, and gold certificates, therefore increasing the dollar bill, outlawing it. In fact, to be honest with you, that's how they caught Schwarzkopf, the man who allegedly kidnapped the Lindbergh baby, because his ransom was paid in gold certificates, and it was outlawed then. Now, Farrakhan was absolutely right. Gold is not a currency. It's backed by the dollar bill, or it was backed by the dollar bill. So, what's your next point?
Gold was backed by the dollar bill?
No, I'm sorry. You can't get to the next. I said was, at that time, backed by the dollar bill. Now the currency rate is basically the currency rate, or the supply and demand using the dollars in which you have, the dollars which you are generated by work or service rendered, which therefore increases the value of that in which you're looking to purchase. Okay, henceforth the term inflation.
Okay, so let me give you facts. Okay, I'm not going to give you a scenario what PSE&G going to do, because that is not facts. In the scheme of, we've been using gold as currency since the Bible and the Quran was here. As a Muslim, you should know that. Any Christian knows that we've been using gold and silver as money since before the Bible was written.
Which it got outlawed in 1933.
Listen. The U.S. government, listen to me. The U.S. government cannot deny a fact that's been here for 5,000 years. The only thing they can do is place laws and restrictions on the people in this country. It does not negate historical facts. I'm sorry.
Really? Well, to answer your question
let me get back.
Go ahead, finish. Go ahead. Yeah, because I don't want to interrupt you.
According to the Federal Reserve, gold is money that's kept on their books to counterweight the risk on their books known as the liabilities, which is the U.S. dollar. Now, I don't know where y'all getting your facts from, but gold has been money since 3600 B.C. And if you watch the video, Mike Maloney so eloquently explained to you that gold is money, the paper was a receipt for money, and when you were able to go to a bank and go and slap your currency down, and they would give you physical gold for your currency, which means that the gold was the actual money, the paper was a receipt for money. Just like you get a receipt if you go to the bank and put paper currency in, you get a statement. That's right. And no longer can you do that. That's the point. Yeah, I cannot go into a bank, right? I cannot go into a bank with, let's just say, an ounce of gold and say, convert that into cash. They're not going to do it. That's what you can do. You can take your physical gold into a bank and get a collateral loan against it. You can do that. Did you know that? Loan, brother. That's a loan against a hard asset.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. Wait a minute.
Let me help you out in terms of the exchanging of gold for currency, because there are a lot of foreign investors who try to use gold to actually purchase things in the United States. It has to go through the exchange, in which the dollar rate of the gold is therefore, first they have to prove that it's 24 karat gold, then the dollar rate of the gold goes with the amount of weight in which they're looking to exchange. The same thing if you're going into a foreign country, where your American dollars have to go through the exchange for foreign currency, and the amount of your American dollars versus the amount of the foreign dollars, and a fee for the exchange. That's how it's done.
So let me ask a question that anybody and everybody can agree or not agree. Explain to me this, Eric. Is this not true or not? Can the U.S. dollar buy the same thing in 2020 as it did in 2020 as it did in 2010? Can the U.S. dollar buy the same amount of goods and services in 2020 as it did in 2010?
That's an open question. You need to define that.
No, it's not. It's yes or no. And I say
no, it cannot. I will concede that no. Due to inflation, it cannot.
Right.
But
That's correct.
nor can gold. Because let me finish, okay? Because I know what you're going to say, so let me finish. Right? But in 2010, I could not go into a store and drop down a piece of gold and come out with my piece. And I could not go into the store and drop down a piece of gold and come out with my piece today, unless the owner values gold and says, "What the hell? I'll take it." But it is not a customary form of payment. That's all I'm saying.
So therefore, and you're saying correct, then you're admitting the fact that gold is not currency.
No,
he just explained. No. Let me finish. He just explained to you the process of currency, and you said that he was correct, which means that you have just disputed your own fact of saying that gold is a currency. It's not.
No, but
you even agreed to that.
So the scenario he gave is true. You can't do that. But
then that means that gold is not a currency.
Vincent, gold has been a currency for 3,600 years. This is what I did not want to do. I don't want to try to debate with people who don't know historical history. You just watched Mike Maloney. You just watched the video. You just watched him give a historical event of how the U.S. government severed the ties between gold and the paper currency because everybody knew gold was money. So when when they tried to return the paper to claim their gold back, the U.S. severed the ties, which means that the receipt for their gold was the U.S. dollar.
Right.
And they stole the U.S. dollar by severing the ties. This is history. Why are we even talking about this?
Okay, but here's
you own gold. You don't own any physical gold, right? You don't understand its value because you think it's an investment.
In America,
wait 1 second.
Amir, in America today, the value for money is worth. Okay? And by that I mean, okay, our GDP, what we base the dollars on is how much work we can get out of it.
Correct.
That's what it's based. Okay? So, getting back to the economy, which is really what I thought this is really about financial literacy. Okay? Until people are working, it doesn't matter what it is. Because while people are working, they can't even use dollars to convert it to gold because they don't have the cash. So we have to understand that. I'm not arguing with you. I say buy gold. Right? I say if you can afford $50 and don't buy it. Maybe one day, and if I was such a gold today, to the point where maybe one day I will expect it for haircut. But right now, and I think we had this discussion, right, in the shop, right, where I said, but right now, it's not a need for me. I appreciate you handing me $15 for that shape-up as opposed to a $15 piece of gold, because I can take that $15 and pay my bill, I can send it to my daughter, I can do the things I need to do with it in life today. Now, saving as an investment, gold, but when there becomes a time in which you can use it as an exchange of goods, that's a great thing, right? So go ahead and save it, right? But all I'm saying is, for lack of argument's sake, when you refer to it as a currency, right? Maybe historically it has been, okay? You're right. There may be a day when dirt is a currency, right? Yeah. Like it will be right. What's the movie Waterworld?
Yeah.
Where the world had been flooded. And
right.
There was value. There may be a day when we have other forms of value, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's carrot bars, KBC, whatever. I'm not questioning that. Do we need to save gold? You need to save something on it.
Right.
Anything of value. Guess what? Save a painting. Right? Find a guy that made a really cool painting. Hope and pray that he dies, and now that painting is worth something. Right? And then there's somebody who is a connoisseur of paintings who will say, I will give you this, that, and the third for that painting, whether it's cash, gold, or boarding stick. But he'll tell you, hey, I like that painting. I know who it is, and it's valuable to me. So it's okay. I'm just saying, when you say it's a currency, you're going to hit this ignorant to the fact. That's the reason why.
Amir,
I only hit a brick wall with people who are not financially literate.
Amir, wait, please.
The 1%.
I'm gonna hang the phone up
Robert
again.
Kiyosaki, the people that y'all read,
Amir,
y'all read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Y'all read that.
So
they have told you gold is money, but you don't believe them.
Amir,
you think Robert Kiyosaki has more money and more value in gold or more value in cash? Which one do you think? More value in gold. No,
Farrakhan, Amir, Vincent, please don't.
I'm listening, Eric. Go ahead.
So for 40 minutes, I haven't opened my mouth, right?
I know.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is this. I think that we're straining gnats. I would agree that gold is a currency. It is not a customary currency, which is what Farrakhan is talking about. So customarily, you don't take gold and exchange it for a haircut, and take gold into the pizza parlor to get your pizza pie, right? But technically, it is a currency. But what I want to do in these last 3 minutes of this segment is get to some practical stuff for folks who are tuning in when we talk about finding financial relief. Because I think that what Farrakhan is saying, and I agree, if you have the money, if you have the means, right, then you certainly should invest in things that are going to give you the greatest amount of security and the greatest yield.
And increase in value.
And increase in value. I don't think that there's any disagreement there. I think, however, what Farrakhan is saying is this. If people are confused into believing that gold is a customary currency. So I'm going to put that asterisk. Let me finish. Put that asterisk there. It's a customary currency. If they don't have the financial means, but they go and they purchase this gold, now they don't have currency to go get their pizza, right? So now they have this gold, but it is customarily considered more a commodity and not a currency. And so in practical terms, what would you say to folks in the age of COVID-19 in terms of finding financial relief?
Okay. What I would say is the same thing I've been saying. What we need to do for those who have so let me just be clear and give you historical facts. I'm not giving you my opinion. Gold has outperformed every single investment in the history of the world except one. There's only one thing that's outperformed gold in the last 20 years. It's not on the stock market. It's not oil. Oil has never outproduced gold. It has never outappreciated gold. Okay, these are facts.
I don't think anybody's disputing that, though. What I'm saying to you is this. Nobody is disputing that. What I'm saying is in practical terms.
Well, no, I got to mess with you right there. You know I love you. But there are some things that have outperformed gold. If you had Netflix stock, you outperformed gold. If you had Amazon stock, you outperformed gold.
Short term.
Listen. I said the last 20 years. I said the last 20 years. In the last 20 years, if you bought Amazon stock in 2000, you would have what? If you had $1,000 worth of Amazon stock in 2000, what would you have today? You would have lost 60% of it in 2008.
No, Amazon stock never.
Wait a minute. You said 20 years, bro. You said 20 years. So I'm going to say if you purchased it in 2000, in the year 2000, what would your $1,000 worth of Amazon stock be worth today? I don't know, because it lost 10% of its value 3 months, 2 months ago. It lost 30% of its value, but it went up 3,000%.
Thank you.
But today it's not that. Value, today it's that 3,000%. So watch what you say. I respect what you're saying. I agree with buy some damn gold, everybody. But if you say it wrong, you are now misleading. That's what I'm saying to you.
So say it. And so
I'm gonna send you the facts. But anyway, let me answer the question, Eric. What I'm telling you is, because of this company, in 2011, our CEO has made it affordable and profitable and a tax benefit to save 24-karat pure gold through carat bars. The number 3 things that poor and middle-class people have not been able to do is beat the tax code, beat inflation, and beat the devaluation of the dollar. When you use our system through carat bar saving physical 24-karat 999 gold in small increments, you can beat those 3 things that not one poor person has been able to do.
So
now,
wait 1 second. I want to. So now we're past the 11 o'clock hour, but I'm gonna give you 10 more minutes, right? So we're gonna go to 11:10. So I want to be clear as we break this down. What percentage, if you can give it in a percentage, when we talk practical terms about what you're suggesting, how much value are you asking people to put into taking advantage of the tax code versus actually investing in the gold that might yield a profit?
Okay, so let me just be clear, Eric, because I want you to get away from using the word investment, okay? As of last year, gold is a tier 1 asset. Investment, using the word investment, indicates risk. There is no risk in a tier 1 asset. 24-karat gold is risk-free. You can't lose money in owning the physical gold.
All right, I'm not trying to get but I'm not trying to get into talking points and get in the weeds. Whatever terminology you want to use. What I'm saying is this: because you talk about carat bars, and then immediately you're talking about tax codes.
Okay.
Right. So what I'm trying to get at is this: is the attraction more about the tax codes than it is about the actual gold in carat bars?
No, it's all 3, Eric. What keeps people in poverty is all 3. These are the things that keep us in poverty. We are overtaxed. We don't have any appreciating assets, and the dollar devalues every single year, okay, at a higher rate than we get raises. You cannot use a linear income and outrun an exponential inflation. It is impossible, right? You can't trade dollars for hours in the hope that you're going to outpace inflation. It will never, ever happen. It's never happened in life on Earth. What I'm telling you is Carat Bars has a business model, an ecosystem where you can become an affiliate of Carat Bars, just like you do Uber, just like you do Lyft, right? You can share that link, and because we are promoting the ownership of physical gold as a savings instrument, not an investment. Because you're doing that from your home as a home-based business, it now qualifies you for a tax deduction over and above what you are entitled to as a W-2 employee. Case in point, I'm just going to use you, Eric. You are a W-2 employee making $50,000 a year. Based on the current tax code, you're taxed between 30 and 40% of every single dollar. If you become a Carat Bars affiliate and you begin if you begin saving 24-karat gold yourself in your increment that you can afford from $6 a week to $100 a week in physical gold, you are now going to promote the ownership of physical gold, and because gold is the product of Carat Bars in your home-based business, it qualifies as a advertisement expense.
No, I understand all of that. So here's what I'm getting to.
Wait, let me tell you. Please let me finish. Because you're going to use, in your situation, you have a 3-bedroom apartment, you're using 1 bedroom for your home office, which will qualify you in the range of 20 to 30% discount on your taxes because you're using your home as your business. So as 20 to 30%
30%, whatever that percentage of square footage is, you can now write off a portion of your PSE&G bill, a portion of your Wi-Fi bill, your cable, your phone, your gas, your tolls, all of the things that you normally would pay for anyway. 99% of W-2 employees cannot write those things off on their taxes. But if you own a home-based business, you can.
Right. So what I'm trying to get to is this. So now, because I want to try to give you all your time. We got 4 minutes, but I want to ask a very simple question.
Okay.
So if I make an investment over the course of a year of say $200 in Carrot Bars, right?
Yes.
So that's what I can afford. Am I at the end of the year with the write-offs and things that you're talking about? What's more profitable for me, the investment in the Carrot Bars or the write-offs?
That's a good question, Eric. If first of all, it's free. The Ask Says question. It's free to become an affiliate. It doesn't cost you anything, right? If you was to make an investment in the business side of what Carrot Bars does, let's say you made a $200 investment. That business investment is 100% tax-free. So if you became a Carrot Bars affiliate and did nothing else but save physical gold, told nobody, that investment you will get back 100%. The gold that you save will have appreciated on average between 7 and 15% that year, which meant that you would receive 15% return on your savings in physical gold and 100% return on your investment as a Carrot Bars affiliate.
Right. So total that out at a $200 investment. What does that equal?
If you told nobody,
yeah,
and a $200 investment would be 100% return on your investment because of your tax deduction, and a 15% increase in your savings.
Right. So
if you did nothing.
So the 15% is $30, and then the $200 because I get $100 back. But then on my write-off,
so you get 100% of your investment.
100%, right? But then on my write-off, right? Because I got a 6-bedroom apartment. I'm now using my basement as my office space. I'm getting thousands of dollars back on my taxes. Right?
Right.
So the question that I was asking you, straightforward question, is at the end of that year, the real thing was the tax write-off. Not the investment in the Carrot Bars.
Well, no, it's all three, Eric, because you're doing all three. You're not dealing with the fact that inflation is going to eat up your savings if you save it in the bank.
Well, can I ask a question in the last 2 minutes?
Listen. If you're saving physical gold and in opposite of saving cash, it's 3 things that you're gonna do at this. Actually 4. Okay, so let me be clear. I want you to understand this. If you're promoting your Carrot Bars business and you're teaching people the truth that gold is money, and they start saving gold, you're gonna earn an income. That's number 1. Number 2, your savings is gonna outpace inflation. That's number 3. The tax deduction you'll get on your home, you'll get back against the W-2 taxes that you're charged at your job. That's number 4. And number 5, you'll get a 100% return on your initial investment as a Carrot Bars affiliate because that was a business venture in your home-based business. Right. So you'll get all of that money back.
All right.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Real quick, because we got like 1 minute. Go ahead.
Real quick. So, Amir, you're a home-based business?
Yes.
Okay, what's your EIN number?
I don't need one.
Well, then how are you a business?
Okay, so let me go.
Are you a DBA or incorporated?
Let me go back to explain to you how
real quick, Amir, and then I want you to answer this question and close out.
According to the IRS, I'm not a tax professional, okay, let me say that, but I've done my homework and I'm taught by tax professionals. You do not need an EIN number to do business at home, according to the IRS tax code.
That is correct.
That's true.
IRS tax code. I do not need a DBA. I don't need an LLC. I don't need any of those things.
So you're a sole proprietor.
I'm running a home-based business. Right. According to the IRS tax code, according to its page, anything that you do in pursuit of a profit is considered a business.
Okay, so you're a sole proprietor then.
Vincent, I need to move to the next segment. right?
Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Let him answer the question, and then I want you to close out with whatever points you want folks to work on for this week, and then we'll gather again next week.
Okay, so I gave homework last week, but we didn't get a chance to go over it because of all the interruption and debate. So what I want to do is this. I'm going to give my phone number out again. My number is 862-452-9628. That's 862-452-9628. Any of my business partners, please put my number in the feed if you can, because I can't. All right, and I need anyone who has questions. Please question me. I'm extremely knowledgeable about this. I've been mentored by some very, very educated and wealthy people. I want to help our community change the mindset that we've been taught that paper currency is money. It's not. It's called fiat currency. So with that being said, Eric, I appreciate you. My website, if you want to check it out for yourself, is www.kingofcurrency.net. www.kingofcurrency.net. I put it in the feed. So anyone who currently has a savings who do not want to lose any more of it in the 401k, the laws have changed where you can remove your 401k without penalty. The U.S. changed the laws. So I would advise you, based on what's going on with oil, this is the second phase of a currency collapse. All right, so taking your money out of paper assets and put it into physical gold, you cannot lose.
All right. Thanks for sharing with us this week, Amir. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. You're welcome, bro. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Take care.
Do you have loss prevention or safety concerns? Black Belt Security and Investigations has armed and unarmed guards that can protect what is important to you. For security you can count, visit www.
bbsillc.com.
Guys, thank you for tuning back in. We're going to have Vincent back in a second. And Diane, are you on the line? I know Diane called, and she was quiet during that entire segment. You got your coffee, Vincent? All right.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. So to wrap that up, and what I was trying to glean from the conversation, because I could look, this is the piece of it that I can understand. I could understand that if, and I'd have to talk to my accountant to find out the legitimacy of it so that I don't get jammed up at tax time, right? When I'm trying to write something off as a business, and they go to audit me to make sure that it's legitimate. But if my accountant said, hey, Eric, look, not necessarily as an investment, but as, what would you call it, a shelter or whatever, right? To say, you know what, become an affiliate of this, it's all legitimate, make some small investments in it so that we cover your rear end on it. And then just sit back, and at the end of the year, you're going to write off a bedroom in your house as an office, and you're going to write off, your living room as a waiting area, and you're going to write off, one of your bathrooms as a bathroom for the business, and then you're going to write off your cable, and you're going to write off 25% of your phone, and you're going to write off, some of your car insurance, and then you're going to write off some dinner meals because you discuss business, and so at the end of it you can write all of this off. So that becomes the value of participating in this. And if it were legitimate, maybe that's I'm just trying to because there's a lot in there.
Maybe I could clear something up, Eric. What you were talking about is absolutely true. However, it does not mean that you could only get that when you go into the carrot bar. Anybody can basically be a corporation, sole proprietor, or whatever the case may be. The difference is this. You can work your income and then claim a home-based business based on you doing some side work and getting a 1099, not a W-2 as he stated. 1099 gives you the right to itemize and deduct everything that you do for the use of your business, be it the bedroom office, talking about business at dinner time with the dog. Any of those things can be considered. That is illegal. That is legal, and it's just not limited to Carrot Bar. You can be a part-time shoe salesman with a side hustle on the street and still do the exact same thing. So the other thing is this: and since one of the reasons that people become incorporated, so that gives them some protection from the business to their personal. Even though you are a home-based business, becoming incorporated protects people from any event that something happens in the business that they sue you and take your house. It just basically means they get all the assets of the business. The next point, if we could go into it, Mike Mahoney, born 1957. He's an English actor, not a financial or world global economist. He self-proclaimed himself that, and actually what the fiat card is, it's not currency. Basically what the fiat card is a savings account. And if you look into it and do some research there with the Better Business Bureau, there is one man who has been trying to get his money back from using his Carrot card, and I checked the email. The last update was in March, and he's been getting phone calls and texts, but he still has not gotten his money back. So, fiat currency. Fiat currency is defined by Webster's Dictionary as currency backed by the government or the sovereign entity at that particular time. Fiat currency basically means your dollar bill. Now, we talked about before 1930s where your dollar bill was based upon gold, doing the universal currency, the national currency, because every state had its own dollar. So they decided to nationalize it and back it by gold. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt basically outlawed using gold as currency, the gold certificate, gold bonds, and we went to now the paper system. Now, the dollar is backed by the economy, or basically whatever you do for sweat, toil, or service to gain that dollar. Inflation of certain products is backed by the simple fact of how much someone wants something bad enough and what they will pay for. Henceforth, supply and demand. What we're experiencing right now with the oil. There is no demand for oil. Supply has been running crazy, so now the value of oil has decreased, or deflation.
Right.
The other thing that I researched, he talked about the Saudis not recognizing the U.S. dollar's currency for their oil. Keep in mind, the third largest transformation of wealth in the United States goes to the Saudi for oil, and they've been doing U.S. currency forever. Now, 2005, the new regime of the Saudis and the OPEC said that they are no longer going to recognize U.S. currency or the U.S. dollar as currency. Why did they do that? Not because the dollar was weak. It was a simple fact that they wanted to get out of U.S. sovereign rules so that they can now dictate the price and exchange of the gold at a faster rate. Once again, their greed and outstupiding themselves. The U.S. laughed at that issue because, like other third firms of wealth, and that motion did die. Now, the other one, I already discussed that. He said repo as a repossession market. No, repo is a repurchasing in which people buy notes. Because when you buy a house, you're spending the first 10 years of a 20-year mortgage just on interest. So that amount of money is credible money for everyone, and that's how a lot of banks make their money.
All right.
So,
well, thanks for that. Again, I want to thank Amir Andre Little for calling in, and we look forward to having a discussion next week as well. So, listen, man, there's a lot going on. Speaking of finances, financial relief, people want to get back to work, Vincent, over the country, throughout the country. You know, you've got protests that are going on, want to open up the economy. People want to put lives at risk. In Georgia, they're talking about opening it, right, slowly. There are a lot of concerns about opening this economy. And once again, you know, I'll start with saying that I understand the pain. I understand the pain, the financial pain that people are going through. And the question always is going to be whether or not the proposed cure is going to be worse than the disease itself. I'm concerned about opening this economy. I'm concerned about all of these organizations that have cropped up, Vincent, these 501c4s that are now funding at the ground level these small groups of people to create blogs and web shows and things that are misinforming folks about what's going on regarding COVID-19, the real dangers involved in it. You know, you've got people putting videos together telling folks that they should be going outside without masks, reclaiming their civil liberties and all of this kind of stuff. And meanwhile, people are still dying.
It's true. Here's if people haven't figured it out by now, the big reason the president wants to open up the economy is because him and his friends are hemorrhaging money. No, they're not even hemorrhaging money, because roughly they've got $1.2 trillion waiting for them. So him and his rich friends will make money. But yet they spark fear in average America, because now everybody realizes that $1,200, as we discussed how many months ago, Eric?
Yeah.
That $1,200 doesn't do.
Wait, can we say that measly $1,200?
Yes.
That measly $1,200.
That measly $1,200 doesn't do diddly. So now people are saying what we said months ago. If you want to stimulate the economy, then give the money to the people and not the corporation. But they're not going. They're not looking. And the small businesses, which now they have to give another $500 billion to, because the bigger businesses got the first $500 billion. But so let's look at this now. They're not trying to give out more money to the people. They're telling the people, oh, we can go to work. Just about every governor in the United States right now is saying, no, people are dying. And we don't know where the hot spots are because we don't have tests. The government is saying go back to work when you get the test. They're not providing the tests, the swabs, or anything to confirm or give them an opportunity. They're not providing personal protection equipment for our frontliners. They're not providing personal protection equipment for our new soldiers in there. And we're talking about right now, they did a survey last night. Do you know who the biggest people who are at risk of dying right now? The service industry. The factory worker, the store worker.
But here's something very interesting for people to pay attention to. They're trying to push you back out to work to make money for them. So when we on the show talk about you being the commodity to their wealth and to their power, they're simply saying, get back to work, y'all, because we're losing money. They're not saying get back to work so you can pay your bills. They're saying get back to work because we're losing money.
They gotta pay our bills. I don't want them to foreclose on my big 24-bedroom mansion.
No. I want another big 24-bedroom mansion. I want 2 more yachts. I want one for my kid now. Get your ass back to work. And then what they're doing, Vincent, is they're using people. They're using a lot of people that look like us, Vincent, to create fear-mongering out there in this space to say that it's okay, and that by you not going back to work, your civil liberties are being taken away from you. So they've allowed these corporations to pay them off, to come and convince our people to go and risk their lives so that those guys can buy another yacht, can buy another mansion.
Yes.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Let
Yes.
us be clear, people, about what's going on, and it's pissing
and
me
those people
off.
those people, Eric, slave whisperers. They use other black people to get black people who are so liberties. No. Don't kill my brothers and sisters with your bullcrap. You want to die? Get out there and kill yourself.
Yeah. It's crazy, guys, and I want you to understand that's exactly what's going on. Do I still have you on the line, Vincent?
Yeah, I'm still here.
That's exactly what's going on right now. They're trying to push you back to work, and they realize that in order to do that, they needed to create confusion. Right? They couldn't tell you the truth about how dangerous things are and expect you to go back to work. So what they had to do was they had to come and find folks within your community who were willing to sell their souls to sell you nonsense. To
You mean
sell you
whores?
conspiracy theories.
You mean whores? Or I'm sorry, prostitutes selling themselves and their body and likeness for a service and profit gain to someone else. You mean because that's basically what they're doing. They are pimping these idiots who are going out there into the black community and telling them that their civil liberties are being violated. Well, let me see your basic and wait a minute. We're talking about you're going to work because the government told you. But when you came up to the government and said that we need a $15 minimum wage increase, what did the government tell you? We're talking about people who are barely hitting over a minimum wage. You don't see them out there protesting. All you see is these white trumpeteers out there with their Confederate flags and their alt-rights. We're talking about the real people who are in this battle and dying. People like, the guy who was a fireman who died from the COVID-19, taking a family out who were suffering from it. We're talking about those people that are dying. Shame on you black people who are going out here supporting a government that's not supporting you. Shame on you sitting up here leading people to their death from a known killer that nobody can see and they only know 20% about. And you're going to tell them that it's safe and your civil liberties. Well, your civil liberties is the right of happiness, life, and the pursuit of, right? So if you go out there and die, how much civil liberties do you have? Come on, people. Stop listening to these idiots and think for yourselves. Really sick of seeing these blogs and these people going out there talking to other people. You don't need to wear a mask. A guy came up to me with a mask, and I went without a mask on, and I wanted to punch him in his face because he's putting my life at risk.
See, and then you know what? But here's where it is. The idea, guys, understand this. The idea is always to divide and conquer. Right? And so right now, there is division over something that should be really sensible. We see death. We see it right in front of our, what do they say? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled is to convince you that he didn't exist.
Yes.
So right in the middle of death, right in the middle of grief, the devil is telling you it's not real. And we have a bunch of people who are believing it. Right in front of us. Some of our own family members. Some of our own friends have left this planet. Speaking of which, I got to stop for 1 second. Brother Osman Sharif, a friend of the family's, staple of the community in Newark. I got a message just before we went on air that he passed away. I don't know that you know him, Vincent, but I'm sure a bunch of listeners to the show do. And I just want to, offer my condolences and my respect to the brother. But we've had, and I'm not connecting him to COVID-19 because I don't know the nature of the illness that he had and what ultimately took his life. But it made me think about it. But we're losing people. I've lost now 7 former classmates of mine. I've had my sister, my cousin, and friends being quarantined, dealing with COVID-19. right? I've had disruptions throughout my family regarding all of this. So to tell me, Eric, don't wear a mask, Eric, this is nonsensical, Eric, they're just making this up around the globe, right? See, I have the blessing of discernment, right? To be able to look and analyze things. But what you have, and we've talked about this several times on this show, Vincent, we have a community of people, unfortunately, who are not intellectually curious. And so they're being preyed upon right now. We have people who are headline surfers, and the folks who are preying on them know that they're headline surfers. So they know all they got to do is put a headline up there. And those folks will take it and share it out. We have people who are not deep divers in information. And they're preying on all of those things. And the sad part about it is that they know better. And they're willing to take short bits of money, right? 30 pieces of silver. 30 pieces of silver. And watch the death. And watch the misery. And they know better, but choose not to empower our community to do better. It's shameful.
Right. And, it really pisses me off because African Americans are dying at an alarming rate because of this virus. When people are coming up with thousands and thousands of people dying, an average of 64% of them are people of color. Yet you get this black fool videotaping in the black community telling people that they don't need to wear a mask and that it's all fake. Leading ignorant people who believe in this fool to their death. Please, kill your damn self. Leave my family alone. Leave my people alone. If you want to do something for the black community, why don't you go out there, contract the disease, and die, and rid us of your bullshit? Don't sit up here and post videos talking about it's safe to go out, it's a government hoax, when all around the world people are dying. It's a government hoax when right now somebody knows somebody in their 6th degree of separation who died from this.
Yeah.
Cut that bull crap out. Let me say something my father used to say.
Yeah.
Boy, you need to grow the F up.
So let's talk about this this study that came out, Vincent. They were talking about hydroxychloroquine, which Donald Trump had been touting as being the miracle drug to deal with COVID-19. And so the headline says, it's coming out of CNN, and
broke yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, it broke last week. It finally got to the news yesterday.
Right. But I want to say this too. See, news organizations have to be very careful because they've put themselves in precarious situations by not always being honest and forthright. Right? And so they left the door open for conspiracy theorists to say, well, see, they lied about that thing. And so, I always say lie once, lie always. Right? So it's hard. And you make it hard because you don't walk a straight line, CNN. But CNN puts this study out and they say, study finds no benefit, higher death rate in patients taking hydroxychloroquine for COVID-19. You want to speak on that?
Eric, we talked about that last month. Again, the Eric Dawson show ahead of the curve. We talked about it, and we said that no, it was a malaria drug, and we talked about the benefits of it, and it does absolutely nothing. And And I mean, we even had one of your guests call up there and say that, oh no, it's been working fine. Yes, it has had some effects for people with lupus and malaria, but but the features and the benefits do nothing for COVID-19. In fact, of the 7,000 random people in different parts of the country, 7,000. And they gave 3,500 the drug, 3,500 a placebo. And what they found out is that people taking the drug ended up getting worse. People taking the placebo, no effect. So this drug it has nothing. It's once again a Donald Trump hoax to get people riled up and to divert from the true issue. I mean, we should be tired right now of idiots ruling our lives and putting out fake information and giving people false hope. If you're going to give somebody hope, now look, I did primary leadership development in the Army. And the one thing that they tell you when you're about to put someone in harm's way is tell them the truth, but always give them hope. But give them real hope. Don't give them hope on a drug that you know is not going to work. You're leading people to their death. People with mass hysteria. Pharmaceutical people are making more money, ramping up extra supplies of this drug. That does nothing. Nothing. It's time that we wake up, people. This stuff has got to stop. I'm tired of my life being changed by a group of greedy idiots.
Yeah. You know, this is all very, very scary, guys. The thing that I would ask people to do is use common sense. Just common sense. If you see people dying, you see people dying, going to the hospital dying. You see refrigerator trucks positioned to hold bodies. You hear funeral homes saying that they are overwhelmed. You see workers. So here's where I am. You've got to conclude that every nurse, every doctor, every medical technician, that all of them are in on this hoax. That they've all been contacted and told to make up some lie about how the hospitals and everything are overrun with what's going on here. All of them have to be in on it. I want you to understand how ridiculous that is. Use common sense. And here's the deal. They're going to open up some of these states, and they're going to open them up slowly. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to work. If you have a job or have the ability to be able to take a leave, then let common sense prevail, right? I think that what will happen at some point as they try to open this, because here's the other piece of this. No matter what they open, the challenge is going to be consumer confidence in all of these businesses. So you open up a restaurant. I'm not going. Like, I don't know about you, Vincent, but I have no intention on going and sitting down at a restaurant. So I don't care how many of them they open. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to get a pedicure or a manicure. I'm not going to do that. I love my Master Barber Farrakhan Sawab, but I don't know that I'm going to go get a haircut right now. And I would guarantee you that he's even thinking about that, right? As they open, he's got to be thinking, well, okay, what's going to be my overhead of me opening? I'm going to be open these number of hours. What is that going to yield me in terms of customers? Are they going to have the confidence to come out?
Right.
And then beyond that, how do you secure, because that would be my first question, how do you secure me? How do you secure me? How do you know that the person that you cut just before I sat in the chair, right, was not asymptomatic, right? How do you know that they didn't cough in their hand, even if you require that they wear a mask coming in? How many people have you seen walking down the street, Vincent, who are not wearing their mask properly? I see some people with the mask down here. So their whole nose is exposed. They get the mask over their mouth. Or when they go to talk to somebody because they're muffled, they pull the mask down to their chin and talk and then put the mask back up. And then while the mask is down, I've seen them cough in their hands and then grab the outside of the mask and pull it up. Who's looking at all of that? Who's even? Right. Is Farrakhan going to have a checklist to ask them to check off what they did and what they didn't do prior to entering into his salon? And then how's he going to verify the truthfulness of what's on the checklist? How's that going to happen? And then if they coughed in their hand and they sat down and they touched the arm of the chair, is Farrakhan going to have a 15-minute or 20-minute or a half-hour interval between customers to make sure that he adequately wipes down everything? And is he going to remember that he does? I mean, these are all things that I would have to be. And I love Farrakhan. And I love the haircuts that he gives me. And I would not dare take my hat off right now so you could see that I have not had a haircut in a long time. But I got to be concerned about my life.
Yeah.
Call it go.
Yeah. And the answer is yes, 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 and yes, brother. I will be doing all of those things, okay? I have it already set up. I spent these 30 past days trying to devise a disinfection and sanitation system for that purpose. So I actually see it on Instagram and Facebook pretty soon for my customers on my Facebook page about what we'll be doing after this. So yes. And what I was calling before you made that question was to say that, people are just doing it wrong. Right? We can't open the country to back to normal activity, and people still don't know how to wear the mask. Yeah. It's like that picture of the guy, right, that you had with the Superman, the Darth Vader mask on, and yet he still didn't have gloves. Right? So either get it or give it, right, by that. Right? And then, so it's like you guys aren't getting it. There's a whole protocol that every American, or I'm just a human in the world, right, will have to do in order to stop spreading this disease or the next. Because let's be clear, there's going to be another. Right? At this rate, every 5 to 10 years, there's a new epidemic or pandemic spread. And the protocols are going to be similar for all of them. Right? We're going to need to know how to properly wear a mask, wear a glove. Like Fauci said, hey, ain't no more handshake. That's maybe the black pound that we used to do. We might.
I'm not even doing that, man. You might get an elbow from me.
You might get an elbow. Like that's what everybody said. Everybody put an elbow down. I was like, you better give a pound and be like, oh hell no, and throw your elbow out there. Like I'm not even punching anybody in the face. They getting the elbow to the jaw.
So listen,
it's that bad. Yeah, but do you know that last night they announced the leading researcher and discoverer of the coronavirus died? If anybody knew how to be safe with this virus, it should have been him, and he died from it. So you tell me, how are people going to do with these masks half hanging down, shaking hands, going out in the street telling people that this is a hoax? Listen, I was in line one day at a store, and a lady sneezed, and I thought everybody in that line turned around and jumped and beat at her, right? Because she coughed, she coughed about 4 times, and then she let out a big sneeze. The whole damn line of people turned around like, no, don't get out of line, right? And elevate, right? Because it's that, and that's what's going to take. It's going to take people actually, almost like anarchy, going against each other, right? Before people start to take a customary protocol. Not to mention, you do it right.
So listen,
yeah, because
go ahead. Make this.
You got a system where right now it's to the point where you have to clean everything after one person gets by it. You have to throw some sterilizer and disinfectant all over it. That is how I'm going to have to do. I am actually at this point the barbershop will have to be appointment code, and the appointments for haircuts will be an hour increment. Will be a half hour increment, giving me enough time in between to do a complete sanitation of the work. It has to be done. There will be no more 2 or 3 people sitting in the shop. Right? I cannot do it. Right? I don't even trust that with masks. Right? So I want my customers to essentially be able to come in, sit directly in a pre-sterilized and disinfected chair,
and I know he hasn't had to touch anything else. He'll keep the bathroom clean and so forth. But like, you don't have to move around and touch anything. You sit down, you get your now. The biggest problem I'm having is, do I make them cover their mouth until I have to shape up?
Exactly.
Until I get to their beard. Like, do I make them wear a mask? Because I can always cut around, the mask until I get the facial hair. And I'm like, all right.
How can you
paint peeled? I got all of it.
But how do you cut effectively with a 6-foot distance?
Well, of course, there is no reality is we're going to have to get within that zone.
So you may be putting your life in danger.
Well, wait a minute. But he said he's gonna have a shield on, right? So if he's got a shield, so he's covering his eyes.
If he's got a hazmat suit on.
No. I mean, I think that if you're covering your eyes, you're covering your ears, your nose, your mouth is covered, right? And if the person who you're cutting, now I don't know how you do the beards. I don't know if you mentioned that, but maybe you're not doing the beards right now.
That's going to be my hardest part when I have to do the facial, right? Because that's the part that I'm going to be closest to. Now, again, like I said, I have the facial shield, I have the N95s for the mouth and nose. I have that. The only good thing I can say is that for the most part, I'm cutting a person from behind, so they're not breathing directly at me. The only time they're really breathing at me is when I'm doing just front facial hair, whether it's mustache, goatee, so forth. Right? So that's where I'm assuming my greatest threat is going to be. And that's why my man says in the movie, the price is going up. If I got to take that risk, I will have to do the next thing. Because, that's it. And this is for anything. Like, I went into a Burger last week, and I had to salute the manager, right? And I actually said it to him. I was like, of all the stores I've been in, his was the only store that everybody was PPE proper. Like, everybody in this store had the mask up over their face. Everybody in this store had gloves on. They had the providers where they had them and so forth. Virtually no other store I won't eat out anywhere because I don't see anybody adhering to this proper safety.
All right. Well, listen, man. We got a caller. Let's take this call. Hello, caller, go.
How you doing? I had a question for Vincent. This is Che. I'm one of the listeners. I was looking at an article that a cousin of mine who goes to Columbia Medical School about China. China's press, there's not independent press there. So there's still this whole thing as to whether this originated from a lab or whether this originated somewhere else in terms of who was the first case in China. So there were some issues there with them not being forthright and forthcoming with the World Health Organization. I'm just curious to get your opinion on, to see the local Democrat elected officials across the country kind of like getting everyone to become like sheep. How does that all play out? Like, do you think there'll be legal action against the Chinese government for trying to cover this up for a period of time? India, the government of India has actually filed for reparations for this in international court.
Let me ask you a question.
And there are several other governments who don't like the management of the initial spread.
Jay, when you say Democrats have people like sheep, what do you mean?
Thank you. Well, what I mean by that is because each state has to manage this crisis, it's almost as if all responsibility, it's almost like all the citizens are becoming children again. And the government is their daddy and mommy.
Well, but
I'm only using that.
I think that the way our government works, right, is we elect people to lead, right? They have information, and then based on the information that they have, they're supposed to lead. The question is whether or not, and you started this by saying they may not have a lot of the information, or it may be inaccurate based on how it came out of and is still coming out of China. there's a lot that we don't know about, which is why they call it novel, right? Novel.
I agree.
Novel
I agree.
Right. So we've not seen it before. We don't know a lot about it. A lot of folks were learning as they go along, but they were taking educated guesses. And I talked about the difference between an educated guess and just a guess, in terms of how to deal with this thing. I think at some point when you have to, and people have to figure it out, right? Based on, and I say we have the gift of discernment, so we can look at the things that are going on. And somebody posted, I'm going to read this because and then I'm going to ask you to answer his question, Vincent. But I want to read this. This is by, oh man, I thought I shared it on my page. Oh, here it is. So this is by a brother, born and raised Norker, Hanif Welch. He writes this. He says, people who believe the numbers regarding the deaths of COVID-19 are exaggerated should try watching the news. Not the numbers they talk about, but the people who they show crying and in despair from the loss of their loved ones. Not to mention the numerous posts on Facebook of people who are lamenting the passing of their loved ones from COVID-19. One of my Facebook friends lost 8 people in 2 weeks. My sister works in a hospital in New York, and she told me it's worse than what's being reported. She worked 3 days straight, taking all that information into consideration. I believe the reports are accurate. Now, I've got similar folks who are working front line in hospitals who are coming back to me with this information. And so we can talk about Wuhan, or whether it was from a wet market, or whether it was from a laboratory, whether, what there were nefarious reasons behind it coming out. It's here. And the question that we first have to ask is, are the people who are posting on social media and other places, not people who are in high up oligarch positions, are their pain, is their pain real? Is what they're posting real? Are these real people? Are the refrigerator trucks real? Are the bodies that are being placed in there real? Is all of that real? And if it's real, then how do we deal with it? And so now we have these local and state officials who are dealing with these real things. And so, I just wanted to give that. Caller, please hold. Vincent, if you would answer Che's question, though, and if you need him to repeat it, he will.
Okay. Well, you actually had 2 questions, but let's break it down to first. Yes, they did find out that China did decrease the numbers, but and they weren't very forthright. The same thing with the Russians and the Saudis and everybody. Of course, they're going to say that it's not affecting them as bad to the world, because you keep in mind when 1/10 of your population is suffering from a disease, that makes your country vulnerable for attacks. And we've already went through the situation with our military, dealing with those people on the ships. So yes, countries do underreport. The big problem that we have is that, and the governor had to mention this yesterday, that the numbers that he have may not be true. There may be more people dying from this because of how they view or actually classify the death of the person. There may be more people dying from this coronavirus than what they've actually said, especially in nursing homes, especially people who die at home, especially people of color who don't go to the doctor. And the simple fact that we don't have enough tests to know who has it. Now, after this point, will the world go after China for money if they find out that they started it? More than likely they will. Just like everybody else in another country. But that is something to deal with next week. What I'm trying to get through is today and tomorrow. Now, what I can tell you is that, we get a lot of information from a lot of people who give us some insight. And I can tell you the honest to God truth, Eric is right. It's a lot worse than what they're actually reporting. It's a lot worse, and they're downplaying it. So when we get a president who says that, okay, we need to open our economy by Easter, and you look at people dying, then you know that something's wrong. When you get this fool, this black man, going out in the middle of the street, posting a video, talking about this is a hoax, and there's nothing wrong with everything, you know, you got to find out there's something fundamentally wrong. People need to actually stop with all this craziness and look at what we know to keep you safe. Stay home. Wash everything. Use soap. 20 seconds when you're washing your hands. And now, since it's an airborne virus, wash your face too. Wear your mask when you have to go out, and only go out when you absolutely have to.
Yes, I do believe people should be using the PPE, and I winded up with this. I was in a conversation with a family member who is further to the left than I, and we were examining how this derives from a communist government. People always say, oh, we want communism, we want socialism. Well, in those countries, you don't get the same access to information that is here. And possibly it could have been contained, even though we're beyond that. Everyone has to wear their protective equipment. But to see how it's disproportionately affecting African Americans and people of black and brown populations, it should be an eye opener that people are seeing that where this all started. And
call it go.
Hey, man, the last caller made some interesting points, but I listened to the mayor of Newark's Facebook Live yesterday. He usually has an air of confidence, man, but the torture on his face as he gave the death toll by zip code and the positive cases by zip code was something to watch, and this thing is turning sinister, and it's turning tyrannical as governments, as governors on
hold one second,
whatever
Mike.
side you are.
Mike, hold that thought. Caller, please hold. And if that's Shay, I apologize for disconnecting you.
I love you.
Go ahead, go ahead, Mike.
This China, not Mike.
Oh, wait a
I
second.
wanted to address something.
China, hold on one second. Okay, go ahead, Mike. Hello?
This is Farrakhan.
Oh, I had Mike Sproul. I had Vincent. I had. All right, go ahead, China.
Oh, I want to address something too. Also, what do you think about? As I've seen that Governor Murphy was also talking about the children maybe going to school with masks and gloves. You know, how do they think that's going to work out for them? Because children are forgetful. They can self-contaminate themselves with the gloves, the mask.
Right, I think it's ridiculous. China, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they want to have these kids go to school with gloves and masks on. I think that's insane. I think I have everybody on the phone. I think Vincent, you're there, so just hold on. I think. Are we talking about kindergartners? Right? Being able to remember to pull their mask up, keep their mask on, right? Not sneezing their hands. Is that what we're really talking about? I think that's insane.
I think it is too. And I think, it's all the deadly sins again. It's so much greed that you would send these children to school to self-contaminate themselves and everyone else. It's just absurd to me.
Right. Again, but China, like I said before, we have to understand the posture here in America. We are all, the 99%, is set up to be the commodity to the wealth and power of the 1%. And so whatever they need to do, however they need to use us to get the engines of this economy going, whatever side, we're just collateral damage. But we got to get it going so that they can buy another yacht. They can buy another mansion.
Exactly. And I think we need to stand up and say something. There is a petition going around to sign. I hope everyone sign this petition because my children are going back there. It's not happening. I don't care. And if people can't stay in the house with their own children and mind their own children and teach their children, first of all, education starts in home. Yep. That's period. And with that, discipline, self-discipline, and teaching your children morals and respect, that all starts in home. So if you can't take your own children, don't get me wrong, they drive us insane, but to keep them safe, these are your loved ones, these are your little ones. You teach them in the home. This is crazy. You need to come out here and say something. Sign the petition. Speak up before they send our kids out there and it's over.
Yeah.
Then you want to scream.
Hey, China, put the link to the petition. You're welcome, love. Put the link to the petition in the thread. I'll make sure that I sign it.
Okay, I'm definitely going to get it now. Okay,
right, thank you. Mike, are you back on?
Yeah, I'm back on. I was just saying this thing is turning really sinister and tyrannical in the sense that, they put $1 trillion out here and gobbled it up. And they didn't put, people got to think, they put the $1 trillion out here, but they're not putting the money for the testing out here. And if you go back out
I
here,
just saw something. Part of the new bill that they're working on is $25 billion for testing, is what they're talking about, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's we have to. It's coming soon. It's on its way. When you hear those words, reject that. You don't want to hear that. We want to hear that I'm not positive of COVID. Or I'm positive of COVID. I need to stay indoors. If you're so in a hurry to separate me from my money and you haven't figured that out yet, maybe you should put in another application for another job.
I think one of the things that we should do, and then I'm going to take Farrakhan. I think
that's all I basically wanted to say.
Thank you, my brother. Stay safe. One of the things that we should really do, I believe, is in a stronger way reject these people who have been purchased by the top 1% to sell this narrative into our communities, to send us out there to die. We should reject them openly, publicly, and not allow them to continue to propagate this nonsense. Go ahead, Farrakhan.
I think what we should do is, as the Apostle Paul said, we should rebuke them sharply.
I just want to say, I was looking at some of the Essex County data last night and this morning, and I found some interesting things out about it. It's essentially, in the predominantly white communities of Essex County, they are dying they at a much higher rate than those in the black community. They are not the amount of people infected, because the black communities are definitely larger in the black community. But in actuality, the white community is dying at nearly double the rate per infection. And I just found that to be very interesting when the recent dialogues have been how so many black people are dying, and we are due to the population centers of this country and where we live. But in actuality, the city of New York has about a 5% mortality rate for this COVID-19, as the way they're explaining it. But a city like Livingston has a 10% mortality rate for infection. And the reason I bring this up is because we've been told, black people, that due to our health conditions and our lack of medical or normal situations, that this is the reason why we're dying. And apparently it is not.
So wait a minute, let me ask you a question, Farrakhan. I just want to be clear. Are you saying per capita, or are you? I'm saying
per infected. I'm saying that. Okay, let me put it to you the easiest way I could. Livingston has 346 cases. They have 39 deaths. That's over 10%, right? Newark has 4,067 cases and only 233 deaths. That's less than 5%, or about 5%.
Right.
The white communities are dying at a higher rate from this disease. Now, their numbers are less because their communities are smaller. Okay, you understand? So more black people are dying per se because of the communities that we're in. But in general, we resist this death or we resist this disease better than they do. That's our point. Don't say no, Paul. If you're questioning me, go look at the numbers.
No. I'm not disputing that. But here's the deal. When you talk about percentages, right? It's kind of like, so if you had a town with 2 people in it, and both people contracted it and one died, the other didn't, then the percentage is 50% of the people in that town died from COVID-19. That's the percentage.
Okay.
Right? And so you can't just go based on the percentage.
No, but that's what they're trying. But what I'm saying is this. We have been listening for the last week or so about a narrative that tells black people that because of their pre-existing condition, that they are more likely to die from this. But guess what?
No.
That is not true.
No. If I could, let me say this. We have been pushing the narrative that they have been suppressing the information leading to the amount of black people dying from this disease. Now, what they did was, in fact, last week they started coming out in these majority Afro-American and Hispanic communities, and they've actually now modified the death rate to account for those people of color who have died. And what the government, and they're finding out that now, if 14% of the population is dying, what they found out is 60+% of that population are people of color dying from the disease. That is across the board in the United States. Now, in the state of New Jersey and the state of New York, both governors came out yesterday in their press conference and said that the numbers of the death may not be accurate because we have not counted X amount of people who died from this event. People who live in senior citizen homes, people who die at home, and people who have not had the test. And the majority of those people who fit in that criteria or that model are people of color.
I can't debate that. I'd have to look it up. What I'm going to say is the statistics I'm going by, the numbers I'm going by are the cumulative confirmed COVID-19 cases Essex County. Now, if you want to say that these numbers have been incomplete, these are the numbers as of yesterday.
I understand that those are the numbers that we're not saying that.
This is what we're all doing. I do have one question, Eric, real quick, it's simple. Yeah. Is Short Hills not part of Essex County anymore?
Short Hills? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not on the list.
Oh.
Okay, it's not on the list of cities.
Yeah,
now, I'm thinking maybe they're saying that if that's the case, consider Short Hills has had no cases or no deaths.
Okay.
Something's not right with that.
See, Farrakhan, you also have to look at this. Okay, we're not saying that the numbers are wrong. What we're saying is that they're not giving you a complete
that's
picture
all I'm saying.
of the pie.
So that's a piece of data that you have, right? I'm not discounting it. I'm saying that we need to consider it along with all of the other data that we have and the fact that we know that we have incomplete data. Right? So we're still waiting, right? So I wouldn't take that information. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Farrakhan, if you want to do some research, look up in Essex County since the coronavirus started, how many deaths have been because of heart or COPD. They do not classify that as coronavirus, yet it's because of coronavirus that they've died. They classify it as heart issue or COPD rather than say coronavirus. That's like saying that, okay, you get shot and you died. So they don't say that you died by gunshot. What they say is that you died by malfunction of your heart, forgetting the fact that the bullet pierced it.
Yeah. So
I'm in agreement with you with that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, what I'm saying is they're playing with these numbers. And
listen, we don't I have no doubt that everybody is.
Get these numbers right, it's going to adversely affect our community.
No, I agree.
You know, we need to know that. We need to know what's really going on, and we don't have any leaders teaching it right now or telling it.
You're right
I'm
about
just
that
bringing
too.
that point up. That's all.
So listen, before we go, and I know that we've dragged this on. We got a caller. Let's see if we can take this caller. There's something else I wanted to talk about that I think is going to light the fire under people. But go ahead, caller, go.
Hey, good afternoon, Eric. Hope all was well, my brother. I would just like to, I would like to just put this out there, okay?
the governor of the state of New Jersey has not made a decision to either reopen the schools in New Jersey. He will make that decision on May 15th. And the governor of New Jersey has a briefing every day. That's on News 12 New Jersey. It's going to be held at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So please, people, be informed. I don't think the governor of New Jersey will be reckless in letting kids go back to school in New Jersey. That's all I got to say.
I agree with you.
Thanks for the call.
I agree with you.
All right.
So I want to, hey, Will, you still on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I want to ask you this question, Will. The Will's a.
You want to throw a curveball at me or what, man?
No. But I listen. This is going to end the show on a spark. So,
okay.
President Trump has now said, in terms of his new immigration plan, that he wants to deny folks coming here, right? For two reasons. One, the fear of spread of COVID-19, and two, because of the people who are being displaced in their jobs because of COVID-19, doesn't want to have immigrants come in and take those jobs that might be available as people try to go back to work. What are your thoughts about that, Will?
My thoughts is this. I agree with Trump as far as the immigration, keeping people out of the United States right now. You know, this is America. People are entitled to come to this country. It's a free country, as we are all Americans. And our grandsisters, our grandfathers, our grandmothers. And the other point in reference to jobs, the unemployment rate in New Jersey is dropped and declined. And as far as Vincent, I just like to say this. I am shocked and dismayed that the economy in New Jersey. I think the governor of New Jersey and the governor of New York and all these governors, instead of the governor of Georgia, is reckless endangerment of their lives. And I think the state should have a ease opening as far as getting people's lives back to normal. Let's not be reckless and open in New Jersey on May 1st and say, well, people in New Jersey, okay, we can open the state, but people are still dying. We shouldn't worry about the economy right now. The economy is, the $1,200 check that Trump threw out there, that's not enough to take care of a person as far as rental, as far as food, cable, and electric. But I think Trump's decision to, I think he should lock down the country. Not lock it down, but not allowing immigrants from other countries coming to the United States, because there is a pandemic going on right now. We just have to decide what he and the elected officials are going to do to keep everyone safe.
So, Vincent, is this xenophobia or is this prudency?
No, it's just Trump's bullcrap of smoke and mirrors. You got to understand Trump. What he's trying to do is get the heat because the world right now is upset because they have to stay in place and that our friends and family are dying, and it could have been prevented or at least lessened. Now, this thing about closing
so you think that the border should be open and that people should be able to come here now while we have states? No,
please. No, I'm not saying that we should have an open border. We have an immigration policy and system that needs some updating. That is true. I think that people want to be American citizens. They should do it the right way. But I think if Trump should put his money where his mouth is, and if he wants to stop immigrants, stop all immigrants. And first of all, let's take away the national citizenship that his wife just got and her father just got. In fact, if that's true, why don't we take away the citizenship that Trump's grandfather got when he came to this country and his last name was Dump? Now let's look at this. It's political grandstanding. Is Trump trying to do some smoke and mirrors and deflecting? And we need to stay focused on what's important. What's important right now is not somebody coming into the country. What's important is not somebody coming into the country. What's important right now is keeping the people in the country alive. And let's look at another thing.
I do agree with you, Vincent.
The governor has got because of him handling this coronavirus with a level of integrity and accountability, his popularity went up 27%.
So there, fellas, can I just share this with you?
Sure.
In today's Star Ledger, okay, it has a big picture of his predecessor, Chris Christie, and Governor Murphy. He says, during a crisis in New Jersey, New Jersey shows love for governor. So remember, Eric, as far as when the governor of Chris Christie, okay, went to Florida and there was a major snowstorm in New Jersey,
right?
And he got criticized for that.
Sure.
Yeah, he got criticized for sitting in the Dallas press box. I mean, the Dallas owners box when the Eagles were playing them.
Oh, is that when he had on the red sweater and he looked like the kid from Fat Albert?
Yeah.
Hey, listen. So listen, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank Amir for calling in. We'll continue to do our research on all of this stuff. But look, stay safe. Stay safe. Don't allow people to whisper in your ear and to shake your confidence in what you know is the right thing to do. Right? Stay home. Stay safe. Protect lives. Will Hathaway, thank you for calling in. Farrakhan, who else did we have? We had China that called in. We had Mike
Amir.
We had Amir that called in. And all of the people who were tuning in and writing in the thread. I'll check. And Che Coulter. Thank you, Che, for calling in as well. Vincent Squire, man.
Hey.
Thank you, bro. Listen, I lasted the show. I drank almost this entire thing of orange.
Well, this is how I did it.
I drank almost that whole thing of orange juice, man, because I tell you, at the beginning of the show, I was about to fall out of my seat.
Wow.
Yeah. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe. This is Eric. This is Vincent. We're out.
Thank you.